everybody, and welcome to AMC Mailbag, the all-mailbag show here on AMC Movie News, where all we do is take your questions. I'm Ashley Movan. If you've got a question that you want answered on air, send it over anytime to amcmovietalk@gmail.com. You could get it answered on Movie Talk or on Mailbag, and sitting with me to answer some of those questions is the editor-in-chief of AMC Movie News, John Campea. John, how are you today?
I'm doing great and ready to get some mailbag questions.
As am I, right? Dewayne Edwards writes, just a theory, but what do you guys think about Black Widow dying in Civil War and Bruce Banner, aka the Hulk, finding out and it makes him go ballistic, attacking everyone he thinks is to blame? Could this be a potential World War Hulk movie idea?
I don't think so. I don't think so for a couple of reasons. Number one, Mark Ruffalo has said that he's not in Captain America Civil War. Now, the other day, he put out a tweet saying, getting ready to add one more to the Marvel family. Can't wait to see this cast on screen. And a bunch of websites started running, oh, did Mark Ruffalo just announce that he's in Captain America? What? That's what you took out of that? No, who knows? Maybe that's the case. But as far as the official term goes, Mark Ruffalo has said he is not in Captain America Civil War. He's not in it. So that takes that out of the equation. The other reason I don't think that, Dr. Banner would go so ballistic and cause such a rampage and destroy everyone and everything over Black Widow is that he's dated her for what, a minute? Like, seriously.
They are in love, okay?
They are in love. I'm not questioning true love.
No one can pet his hand the way she pets his hand.
That's right. But Black Widow is not the true love of his life. The true love of his life is Betty Ross. And so, if anything, the death of Betty Ross may push him over the edge. Let's say, for argument's sake, that Mark Ruffalo never said that he wasn't going to be in Captain America Winter Soldier. Okay, so let's I mean, that's not the case, but let's pretend for a second. Then, the death of Betty Ross could, facilitate the type of scenario that you're talking about here, where that's something that just pushes not just Hulk, but Bruce over the edge and makes him just lose his mind and snap and stuff like that, setting up potential World War Hulk. But Kevin Feige has also said in the past that he doesn't think World War Hulk is really on their radar, which is unfortunate because it's make a great movie, although a very expensive movie, granted. And now the other thing too is, I do find it odd that they have announced that William Hurt is coming back to reprise his role as General Thunderbolt for a movie that's not going to have Hulk in it. I find that a little strange, but who knows? Maybe, Thunderbolt Ross is just going to be in it for like 30 seconds. Just like maybe it's a glorified cameo to set him up to use maybe in an Infinity War later for something else. But the long and the short of it is, I don't believe this scenario works that, number one, Black Widow dies. There's actually three big reasons why this doesn't work. Number one, Kevin Feige said at that Marvel event, setting everything up, we have no plans for a Black Widow movie. But that doesn't mean that, don't worry, he said, she's going to play a prominent role in the entire MCU cinematic universe moving forward. So they're not going to just kill her off in Captain America Civil War. The second thing is, she's not the love of Bruce's life. That's Betty Ross.
They're in love. Temporarily.
But they're not temporarily.
Okay.
He hasn't gotten any in a while,
He's very angry.
Yeah, he's got some tension built up. He's got to release. So there's that. And then the third thing, of course, is that Mark Ruffalo has said he's not in the movie. So I think those three things pretty much go against the theory. Even though it's a great theory, it's just not a plausible one right now, I don't think.
And kind of killing off a woman, there's not that many women we have right now.
They're roughly half the population.
No, they're not. Oh. Touche, sir. Touche. Well, half the population would be bummed to not see as many women on the screen.
No, that's a very good point.
So I don't want her to die. I like her. She's so sassy.
She is a great character.
Yeah.
I mean, look, the one criticism about the Black Widow character is that she's a girl with a gun, and she happens
What's
to be
wrong
really
with
good at
that?
Nothing at all. I think it's the sexiest damn thing in the world. To quote Michael Clark Duncan from the second Whole Nine Yards movie, or the first one really, nothing finer than a fine woman with a gun.
Especially Scarlett Johansson.
Especially Scarlett Johansson. Are you kidding me? But the one thing that I've always thought in the past was that like she's with these super powered beings. Tony's not super powered. Look, when he's wearing that armor, he can fight gods. I mean, so it's like, and then here she is with her, sticks in her guns, but they have made her work and made her one of the more compelling characters in the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. And as you so accurately point out, the one female voice in this universe right now, although we know more are coming. So yes, not only from a business point of view would it be bad to kill off this character that Kevin Feige's already said they're going to be using for all of Phase 3. It probably wouldn't be a very smart move to take the one bit of female presence you have and you kill her off. Thank you very much. I mean, that'd be a mistake. Bad mistake.
All right. Sreenath Juttu writes, I'm a fan of the show and like the objectivity of your reviews a lot. I was recently watching Winter Soldier again and noticed Joe Russo in it, the doctor who helps Black Widow after she's shot. It was a pleasant surprise. My question is, which director cameo is your favorite? Obviously, Argo doesn't count.
Well, first of all, Argo obviously doesn't count because it's not a cameo. The director is the star of the movie. Ben Affleck is the star of Argo. So that clearly does not count as a cameo. I didn't even know about the Russo one. I had no idea that was him in it. So that's news to me. When I think of really cool director cameos, two usually come to mind. One is Peter Jackson in his Lord of the Rings films. That's always funny, whether he's like that shipmaster or just the drunk guy walking by the prancing pony inn or whatever. Just seeing him pop up because he's very recognizable. So seeing him pop up and do that. And that's the other thing. For a director's cameo in a movie to have a good impact, it's got to be a director that people would recognize. Most directors, nobody knows what they look like. Very few go against that grain. George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, Christopher Nolan. But Peter Jackson is a very recognizable face. The other director to me, and it's not for any one particular movie, but is Quentin Tarantino. I love it when he pops up in his movies. Sometimes they're really bad, but even when it's really bad, there's something really cool about it. Like I know Dennis loves when Quentin Tarantino pops up in Django Unchained. No, Dennis is shaking his head. Love that movie. But even though it was bad, him doing that awful Australian accent, and knowing that it's him doing it, for some reason makes it work for me. I don't know why I can't explain it. So for me personally, and there's a long, proud tradition of directors either appearing in or making cameos in their own films. But the ones that really stand out to me that I've enjoyed quite a bit are Quentin Tarantino's and Peter Jackson's.
Have you seen, I know it hasn't come out yet, but I went to a screening the other night of the latest Insidious. And have you seen it?
I have not seen it yet.
Oh my gosh, if you guys are a horror fan, this great director cameo in that movie. You'll have to check it out.
Although, you know what it's just come to now? You know what it's come to now? It used to be, everybody thinks I'm in charge around here. It used to be if there's a movie that I want to see, I can just go see whatever I want to see, right? And nowadays, it's like an interview opportunity comes up and I go, okay, yeah, I'll go do that. And then I get these emails. John, Ashley said she wants to do that. And I'm like, fine, I'm out.
About George Clooney.
I wanted to interview George Clooney. I thought, okay, yeah, sure, I'll interview George Clooney. And then I get these reprimand emails from all you guys. Ashley wants to do George Clooney. Fine, I'm out. I don't get to do anything anymore. But hey, I'm sorry. What was your point? Where are we going with this?
Insidious 3, a great...
We're just talking about how badly you take me for granted and abuse me around
Thank you so much. It was so much fun to interview George. But you should really see Insidious 3 when it comes out because I already got to see it. All right. Jorge Ahumada writes, why don't they give out Oscars for best practical effects? I know for sure a film like Mad Max Fury Road would win it.
No, you don't. Even if they did, this is the thing I always try to caution people to talk about. What should win the award for this? We're only in May. You don't know. You simply don't know what all the other movies are going to look like. Now, as far as the question about why don't they have a category for best practical effects? They do. It's called best visual effects. That's the category. The best visual effects Oscar is not for best digital effects. This award has been around forever. It's actually been around since like the 30s or 40s, whatever. But it's even been called Best Visual Effects since I think the award officially became just Best Visual Effects, if I'm remembering right, in 1963. And guess what? Star Wars was all practical effects. With the lightsaber being a little different and the laser beams. But other than that, Jaws is all practical effects. All like visual effects are looked at in their entirety. It's not just about which has the best digital effects. It's about which has the best visual effects. Visual effects comprises of digital and practical. And, if a movie comes out that's all just digital effects, but it did the best job of making effects, then it deserves to win. If a movie comes out that's a nice blend of practical effects and visual effects, and it just did the best job, then it deserves to win. Could a movie like Mad Max Fury Road be up for contention? Sure, it's possible. It's absolutely possible. But the reason there is no such thing as a Best Practical Effects award is because it's already called Best Visual Effects. And yeah.
If you could create one new Oscar category, what would it be?
Oh, if I could create a new one. A lot of people usually want a Best Stuntman category. And I'm against that personally. I think stuntmen should be recognized for their work, but there's just no way. We don't know. As an audience member, you have no idea what you're seeing. Like, so I don't know that plays well into that. Maybe there's a way to do that. I'm not sure. Some people, I know Christian Harloff and I have this discussion all the time. They really want, a guy like Christian really wants a Best Motion Capture Performance. Okay. I'm a little bit against that right now because right now there's not enough movies with motion capture performances to justify the category. Give that a few years. That may change. And I actually just think the Oscars and the Academy should give more recognition to motion capture performances just as performances. It's not like there have been a lot of them, but just Andy Serkis in as Caesar, I thought deserved some attention. I really did. Maybe that's the only one I can think of is Andy Serkis. Is the only guy I can ever think of. Sure, but give that a few more years, and then I'd probably be more for it. So, man, it's a great question. I can't think of any.
Those are a couple good ones, though.
Yeah, like those could, like, seriously, the motion capture one is one that could very feasibly become one in 5 more years, 10 more years. Maybe if we get at least 40 major release films that have motion capture performances, as long as, you know, if there's like 6 or 7 movies, then I don't think. Whereas every other category, a movie has to compete against 400 other films. I don't think you should have a category that competes against 7 other films. And then your Oscar means just as much as that Oscar, even though they went against 400 other competitors and you went against 5. So yeah, give it a few more years and maybe that could actually become one.
All right. Jeffrey Kennedy writes, "Hey guys, love staying up to date with you. A lot on Spidey. I'm disappointed that the Amazing Spider-Man 3 will not happen. Andrew Garfield was so perfect as Spider-Man. Why couldn't Sony just continue with the Amazing Spider-Man films and have some of the other Marvel characters / Avengers come to the Andrew Garfield Peter Parker? Thank you and keep up the great work."
Because and first of all, I'm with you. I love Peter.
Yes.
I love Peter. I loved Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker. I really did. I thought he was a great Peter Parker and a great Spider-Man. I thought he nailed that character. And if you like having your actors be passionate about their roles, look up Andrew Garfield at Comic-Con before the first Amazing Spider-Man, talking about what Spider-Man means to him. It is beautiful. You're never going to get an actor again that probably loves their character as much as Andrew Garfield was so invested in and loved the character of Spider-Man and Peter Parker. And I thought he was great. That being said, I do also wish they had moved ahead, even though The Amazing Spider-Man 2 disappointed a lot of people. I wish they had gone on with 3 and just corrected the ship, just righted the ship, you know. But they went in a new direction. They signed a new deal with Marvel that I think will be beneficial for both sides. And in light of that, story-wise, it doesn't fit. That Spider-Man, with what we know about his history and what we know has been going on, does not fit with a Spider-Man that shares a cinematic universe with Avengers, a Spider-Man that's supposed to have already been around in New York when the alien invasion in New York happened. Well, then where the hell was Spider-Man? How come no one's ever heard of Spider-Man? You know, it creates some problems. Now, there are ways to work around the problems, yes, but so if you're starting this new cinematic universe for Spider-Man, then Andrew Garfield, I believe now is 32. Then you probably want to start him young. Like, look, the classic Peter Parker starts in high school. So go young. Does that mean I want Asa Butterfield? Maybe, maybe not. Asa Butterfield's a great young actor. He really is. I'm not comfortable with how young he looks, but who cares? Like, he's put on the Spider-Man mask. He looks the same age. Doesn't matter. It makes sense then, if you're starting a new cinematic universe with them, that get a guy in who can play this character for the next 10 years if you want him to. Can play him for the next 12 years if you want him to. Andrew Garfield can't do that. It would have been great if he could have continued on, but if you're rebooting and restarting the franchise in this new reality that you have to make consistent with what's come before it, then it does make sense. My heart breaks that we're losing Andrew Garfield, but it makes sense. The characters are not there to serve the actor. Actors are there to serve the character. And what the character needs right now is a new start because of this new deal. They're sharing the universe with Marvel. It's just a move that had to happen. I don't like it, but I understand it and I agree with it.
You're making me really sad. I'm right here with Jeffrey. Like, I love Andrew Garfield. I think he just fits so perfectly into the role. Do you think it was because of Amazing Spider-Man 2, or they always had the plans to do this?
No, what really, more than the Amazing Spider-Man 2, like everybody likes to point the finger at what ended this run of Amazing Spider-Man was that Amazing Spider-Man 2. Look, Amazing Spider-Man 2 made over $700 million. I could be wrong. Actually, fact checker Jonathan, can you look up what the worldwide box office total was on the Amazing Spider-Man 2? Sure. I know it was over $700 million. But we were just talking earlier about, either yesterday or earlier today about, an Alien versus Predator movie that was a big success. It made $175 million. And then a lot of people want to say Spider-Man 2 failed because it made, which is just ridiculous.
708 million worldwide.
708 million worldwide. So it did made over $700 million. What really put the fork in it was the fact that Sony, and Sony's made no qualms about this and has not kept this a secret. About a year ago, and this is where the story all changed. It became publicly aware, and it might have been longer than that, but Sony as a company, not just the film division, Sony was in real financial trouble. They were in real danger. And there was even rumors and whispers going around about Sony just axing their film division, like axing Sony Pictures and just cutting it off and things like that. I mean, I don't think it ever came close to actually happening, but I remember there's talks about that. And I remember John Schnepp, myself, Dennis, about that, like whether it was like 6 months ago, 8 months ago, we said the narrative's changed. Because I, for the longest time, would say, you are never going to see Spider-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I mean, I said that wholeheartedly. You're not going to see it happen because it creates all these problems. Then Sony Pictures gets in trouble. And then the company is in trouble. And it's like suddenly, well, it's the information has changed now. The context has changed. This company's in trouble. You might start hearing conversation. It's plausible. I still didn't think it would happen. But it's like like Schnepp and myself, we were like, the narrative has changed now. This could happen. And I think that ultimately is what led to the demise of Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. I think even if The Amazing Spider-Man was really well received, let's put it this way though. If The Amazing Spider-Man 2 had made $1.3 billion at the worldwide box office, Sony would have said, thank you very much for your offer, Marvel, but we're just fine where we are. Even though The Amazing Spider-Man 2 did great at the box office, $700+ million, that's not game-changing kind of money for an entire movie studio, you know? And I think that's ultimately what sunk. And you know what? As much as I don't like, this is like the third incarnation of Spider-Man we're going to have in a generation. Yeah. And I don't like that. But new beginnings mean new opportunities. Yeah. And let's be excited about that. And let's see where this goes. Whether Spider-Man ends up being Asa Butterfield or not, whether they get somebody you like or don't like us, let's hang in there and just, let's see what can happen with this.
So positive. I love this.
Let's see what can happen.
All right. Hendrik Johnson writes, I really love your show. I was always wondering why U.S. theaters are not offering seat reservations when pre-ordering movie tickets. In Germany, we can order tickets online and pick the desired seat, run fairly late to a screening, and have the desired seat waiting for us. I've been to U.S. theaters a few times, and the first come, first serve mentality always puzzles me. Thanks for your time and keep up the great work.
Freaking men, my brother.
I thought this existed.
Here's the thing though. It does exist in the US. It's just not the majority of places. The concept, here's the thing. I've never understood this. I still don't understand this. People at AMC who watch this show, we need to change this. Every movie theater should be pre-assigned seating. Every movie theater should. Everything else in the world understands this mentality, except for Southwest Airs. Except for Southwest Airline. Everything else in the world understands this mentality. You buy a ticket, you know where your seat is. You don't go to a Philadelphia Eagles football game and you got to show up 8 hours early to see if you can get a good seat. That's not you. When you buy a ticket, you know exactly where your seat is. When you're going to a concert, you know, I'm in row, MM seat 7. You know where your seat is. For most airlines, you're getting on the plane, you know where your seat is. With you go to a play, you go to the ballet, you know where your seat is. That's how it works. But our movie theater mentality has been, if you get there, if you're lucky enough to find a good seat, and if you get there, and a lot of people have to get there before you're going to get a neck cranker. I've never understood this mentality. Never understood it. And this was really highlighted for me a number of years ago where I had this movie going experience where I was visiting Canada when I think it was the first Wolverine movie came out. And I had to go, because it wasn't pre-assigned seating, I had to go to that theater like 3 hours early to stand and sit on concrete to make sure, because if I got there much later, I was going to get a terrible seat to watch this midnight screening of Wolverine. And it was miserable. It was a miserable experience sitting out on the concrete for a movie that didn't end up being very good. I mean, it was just terrible. Now, the following week, I come back to LA and I go to a movie theater that did have pre-assigned seating. It was a packed house, but guess what? I didn't have to rush to get there. I got there 2 minutes before the movie started, got my popcorn without having to sweat it because I knew just trailers were playing, walked in, sat down in my seat that I had booked, and it was there. It was a much better viewing experience, by far a better viewing experience, because I knew what I was getting and I didn't have to get there, however many hours early just to make sure I get a half decent seat. Now, some people have tried to argue with me the most ridiculous arguments in the world. Well, what happens if you get there, John, and there's puke on your seat? What then? I've been going to the movies a long time. I've never seen puke on my seat. I'm not saying no one ever has. I'm sure people have. I'm sure it happens, but it's a very tiny percentage of the time. Now, so they say, what happens if you go to the theater and your seat, you got seat, W4 and there's puke on your seat. Then you're out of luck. Well, I'm fairly sure that were that to happen and you get there and there's puke on your seat, that the theater will understand you and give you another empty seat. Yeah, but John, what if this theater sold out? Okay, if you really want to push it that far, then how's that any different if it wasn't pre-assigned seating? You show up and there's only one seat left in the place and it's puke on it. That's no different than if it's pre-assigned. So your argument is invalid. It's a total wash. It's like, well, I like just showing up to the movie and picking a movie I want to see when I get there. Great. If there are still seats available, good for you. Just like if it wasn't pre-assigned seating. I just like the idea that somebody like let's say you're a huge fan of Jurassic World, right? Let's say you're dying for Jurassic World. I like the idea that the truly passionate fan of Jurassic World, who stays on top of things and knows, books her ticket 2 weeks in advance to get it. I want to make sure she gets the good seats. Rather than it's the person who walks up going, maybe I'll see Jem in no, I'll go see Jurassic World, Look, I just don't see, there is no downside. There is no downside to a pre-assigned seating system. I am so glad that our AMC Burbank 16 does have a theater in there that has pre-assigned seating, but not all of them do. AMC, we got to get on this. We got to fix this. That's my opinion anyway. They're not listening to me. But we need to have pre-assigned seating. I think is absolutely the way to do things.
Well, I'm so ignorant. I live in LA and I thought that that's how it was everywhere, but this could kind of start on this week on Movie Talk. We talked about something. I think that this would open the door to that. You named like sporting events, concerts, all the better seats cost more money. So I think that could you think that would open the door for that?
I hope not. Like, for instance, that would be a fear. That's a legitimate fear. It's like, well, what happens then if a theater starts charging you more for the better seats, just like they do at concerts or at sporting events or whatever? I don't think that, because there are a lot of theaters in LA that already do this, and there is no difference in the pricing. There's just not. As a matter of fact, here's another great thing about this. You go to the movie, and like, say you show up in the movie theater, I'm like, okay, like last night we went to go see Mad Max. We walked over there earlier in the day to buy our tickets. And not only did we get to pick our seats, we got to see which seats were taken and which weren't, right? Let's say that 95% of the theater was already full and there's only like these two terrible seats and this awful seat. Then we can see that for ourselves and go, oh, you know what? Let's pick another showtime because this one, I don't want to get those seats. I don't want to get those seats. Whereas if you don't have pre-assigned seating, you're just going to buy your ticket and walk into the theater, crossing your fingers and hoping there's going to be a half decent seat somewhere. It's just a better system. I really want it to become the normal thing. Absolutely.
Thank goodness for living in LA.
Yes.
All right. Ajlal Sayed Ali writes, I know Sylvester Stallone is often the punchline to a bunch of jokes, but the one movie of his that I love and I don't think he gets enough recognition for is 1991's Oscar. That movie even today holds up. The phonetic pace of the cast and the seemingly endless parade of jokes still makes me laugh. It's been 25 years and me and my brother still make Finucci brother references. My question for you guys is whether or not you would be open to a remake or sequel to the original and your opinion on why old Sly doesn't give comedies more of a chance even in his old age. Got to be easier on his bones.
I so romantically, passionately, desperately love the movie Oscar. That movie is so great. It's shot so wonderfully. Dennis and I were talking about this beforehand. It's very much shot like it's a stage play. It feels like a stage play. The whole movie, other than the intro before the opening credits, the whole movie happens in one day in one house, with all the characters having their exits and their entrances and all that kind of stuff. And it so plays very much like a play. And it is fast paced and it's funny. And I really enjoy Oscar. And it's got people like Don Amici. It's got Marissa Tomei as Sylvester Stallone's daughter. It's got Tim Curry as the linguist Dr. Poole. It's just loaded with all these great characters. So funny, so fast paced. Seriously, guys, I highly recommend Oscar. It's a really good time. Watch it with a buddy or something like that. I think you're going to get a lot of really good laughs out of it. As far as, well, why didn't Sly do more comedies? Well, unfortunately, Oscar wasn't his only attempt at trying comedies. Anybody remember Stop or My Mom Will Shoot? Does anybody remember that? Yeah, that might be a good reason why we didn't see a lot more comedies as Sylvester Stallone. Comedy is not his strong point. It's not. But for whatever reason, with this character, Snaps Provolone, that he created though he didn't create, but this character that he played, Snaps Provolone, was the right kind of character for him to play, and he came across as funny and hilarious. He was able to set up other people to look funny and hilarious. It is honestly one of my absolute favorite Sylvester Stallone movies. It's fantastic. So if you have not checked it out, check out Oscar.
Will that be your favorite Sylvester Stallone movie?
It's close. If it's not my favorite, then it's close. I mean, how do you go against Rocky IV? Right. How do you go against Rocky I? How do you go against the original, the original Rambo film, First Blood? I mean, but I'm telling you, it's this very, very different movie from all of his other ones, but it's hard not to have Oscar in the conversation with those other ones in terms of just pure enjoyment. I think you're going to have a really good time watching it.
Are you excited for Creed?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know. I'm not skeptical, but I haven't had anything yet to make me excited. I got to wait for that first trailer because, he came out with that last Rocky film and it was just called Rocky Balboa. Everybody said it was a mistake. I got to admit, part of me thought it was a mistake too. And then I saw the first trailer for it. I'm like, you know what? This looks pretty good. It looks, because he's in the ring. It's all slow motion. You hear him. It ain't about how hard you can hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. It's a great line, right? I do a terrible Sylvester Stallone. But it's a great line. I thought, you know what? This trailer's pretty good. Let's give this movie a shot. And I loved Rocky Balboa. I thought it was wonderful. Just a wonderful movie. But yeah, man, Oscar is just so different from anything else you've seen Stallone do, and it is one of my favorites.
All right. Joseph Payne writes, hey, love the show. My question is about the Gambit movie. Is it still coming? That's what she said. I haven't heard anything about it. Could you shed some light? Thanks.
Everybody thinks I'm lying when I say you guys don't know the half of it of what she says before the cameras roll. Everybody thinks I'm exaggerating, and that, folks, wasn't even anything. That was like a taste. That was like a small taste. Anyway, well said.
He set me up for that one. Joseph, you set me up for that one.
Okay, so, yes, as far as I know, this is going to be a pretty short answer. To the best of my knowledge, everything's still full steam ahead. They got their plans. They got a release date for it. Channing says he's excited for it. The studio seems excited for it. They seem to be working into all their plans. So, as far as I know, everything is full steam ahead for, I'm afraid of what to say now because I don't know what she's going to say. Everything, plans, all engine. Yes.
No, I'm
it's
going to be
happening.
innocent.
Okay, then yes. As far as I know, it's still full steam ahead for Gambit.
Okay, I looked up the IMDb page and it looks so empty. Who else is in this?
They're very early in putting this thing together, but remember that can all change in 2 days. Like they can, like tomorrow they can announce the director, the supporting cast, all that kind of stuff. So, and I believe it was set, actually fact checker Jonathan, when is the Gambit movie currently scheduled for? I think it's either 2017 or 2018, I think.
2016.
It's scheduled for 2016?
October 2016. 2016 is stacked with a lot of
Oh
movies.
heavens, yes it is. It really, really is. As a matter of fact, like we just talked the other day, like there's 4 comic book movies coming out in July of 2016 alone. Well, you know what? This is why we have a fact checker here, ladies and gentlemen. I thought it was 2017 or 2018. 2016 is only a year and a half away, and nothing.
Could they keep it under wraps like that tightly?
Very, very difficult to do that. But I think there's probably a lot of stuff behind this. If they are, they're either going to push this date back or they've already got a lot of behind the scenes stuff done. And there's just a matter of when they're going to drop their announcement about, hey, we're ready to do this movie now. And they just drop it all. And remember, Deadpool went into production less than 1 year from when that movie comes out. If Gambit follows the same kind of suit, that means we've got 4 or 5 more months to find out who the cast is, who the director is. So I'm not panicking about it yet. Like I said, as far as my understanding is, they're still moving ahead full engines, so until we hear otherwise, just assume it's happening.
All right. Matthew Moore writes, hey, AMC crew, just want to say congratulations on phase 3. It rocks. My question is, do you think there is a slim chance that there will be a This Is the End sequel? Personally, it is one of the best comedies I've watched in the past few years and would love to revisit it. Keep doing what you're doing and bring on the filthy.
This Is the End was so freaking funny.
Oh, yes.
That movie's just so funny. I don't know if it's a good movie or a bad movie. All I know is that
freaking great.
I laughed myself sick, that movie. It just made me laugh. And ultimately, that's all comedy really has to do is make you laugh. And it was so unexpectedly funny. Like just from start to end, I was laughing myself sick. Spoiler alert.
Lots of spoilers today.
Yes, in case you haven't seen it, it is now years old, so we've got to be able to talk about it. I mean, the movie ends with the end of the world and they go to heaven.
Maybe it's in heaven.
Maybe it's in heaven.
Although
I did hear Seth Rogen, and it's who's his writing partner? Who's Seth Rogen's?
I'll look that up.
Yeah. Goldberg. Yes, Goldberg. Thank you. I think he said that they had their idea for This Is the End sequel, and the movie starts with all those same guys. So you've got your Seth Rogen and you got your James Franco and you got like all those guys just coming out of the world premiere of This Is the End. And that's how the movie starts. And then a new cataclysm of some sort happens and they have to do it all again. It sounds a little repetitive, a little cheap, but I'd be all for it.
Oh, yeah. I'd totally be there.
Now, as far as I know, then nothing else has been said about it at that point. And then they've got like Rogen and Goldberg are working on Sausage Party, and that should be coming out pretty soon.
I love that name.
Yes, the name of the movie is Sausage Party. It's an animated movie about a sausage.
Oh my gosh, this is genius. I can't wait.
It's called Sausage Party. It's an R-rated animated film that is indeed coming out.
This is right up my alley. Right up my alley. I can't wait.
And so they're a little busy doing that. And so maybe they'll get back on the development of This Is the End 2. I'm all for them doing what he was suggesting. This Is the End 2 coming out of the world premiere of the original film.
Yeah.
That could be actually kind of fun.
I love that idea. Do you think it's difficult for comedies to make sequels as funny as the first one? Because going back to what we were talking about, everyone always wants to say it's not as good.
With comedies, it is especially hard.
Yeah.
It is especially hard. Because actually, you know what? Fact checker Jonathan, can you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Can you check the AMC Movie News Lounge and see if Mark Ellis is still sticking around in the office?
Gosh.
And if he is, I don't think he is, but if he's still floating, because he was out there like 20 minutes ago. If he is, could you drag him in here for a second?
You can say a joke for us twice.
Yeah. Here's the thing about the comedies is like, I think there are a good number of sequels out there that are, better than the original. Rush Hour 2, I think, is better than the original Rush Hour. Star Trek 2 is better than Star Trek 1. He's here?
Yeah.
Okay. There are a bunch that are out there. Absolutely. A lot of people think Empire Strikes Back is better than the original Star Wars. Mark Ellis, our special guest, Mark Ellis. He had no idea I was going to be pulling him in here for a second.
We can share a mic.
So, Mark, actually, it's funny that this question came up because we were having lunch earlier today, and this topic came up, and I remember I was going to ask you this question, and then I totally forgot about it because you farted or something, and it totally killed the mood.
Happens a lot when you eat lunch with Mark Ellis.
So, the question is like about, Ashley was just asking about comedies. Can you think of many comedies? Because when I think of comedy sequels, I think of Analyze This, which is awesome, and then the terrible Analyze That. I think of The Hangover, which is awesome, and then The Hangover Part 2. Like these comedies where can you think of comedies where the sequel was either legitimately as good or legitimately better than the original?
I actually can, and it's up for dispute, obviously. But I actually just was online in the other room ordering a shirt that says
"This is what the AMC Movie News office is, folks."
It says, I was using your credit card, by the way. Thank you. It says Del Preston, which is the roadie in Wayne's World 2. Wayne's World 2. Thank you, Ashley. Yeah. Wayne's World 2, I think, is even better than the original. That's up for dispute. Naked Gun 2.5.
Oh, that's a great one.
Naked Gun 33 1/3 is a train wreck, but Naked Gun 2.5 is hysterical. And then if you want to count the Monty Python sequels, obviously Holy Grail is the funniest, but Life of Brian and Meaning of Life are two films that you just got to see if you love comedy. It's more just another movie made by the greatest comedy troupe of all time. So there you go.
You know what? The aforementioned, I guess this falls under comedy too. I thought Rush Hour 2 was much better than Rush Hour 1. Also much funnier.
You could say Christmas Vacation was arguably funnier than...
I wouldn't agree, but I think there is an argument there to
I could make a case, it seems like there's a couple comedy sequels that we're just missing that are out there, but once you get into...
What?
22 Jump Street.
Dennis saying 22 Jump I am actually, I agree with that. I know a lot of people that don't, but I think I laughed even harder at 22 Jump Street than I did at 21. If nothing, then for that Channing Tatum scene when he realizes when he realizes that his partner slept with Ice Cube's daughter, it's like, and that bell goes off, ding, what? And he's like dancing around.
There's a couple gut-busting moments in 22 Jump Street for sure, yeah. But I think that when you do think of comedies, the first ones that come to my mind are Caddyshack 2, which is maybe the worst movie ever made. Airplane the sequel, which is horrendous. So if you're gonna do a comedy sequel, is that the one where they went
into space?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it was.
When you go into space, it's just a bad idea.
Oh, and William Shatner had like an accordion album, right? I think I remember that at the end. Somebody says, pull his record. And he goes, and he pulls out literally his poker record. It was kind of funny. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for this.
Bye, Mark.
For this guest spot, Mark Ellis.
Can I go back to sleep, Mr. Campy?
Yeah, go back.
Order me one of those shirts, too.
He's like Harry Potter.
What day is this coming out? Happy Sunday, guys.
Good day.
Seriously, he's like Harry Potter. He sleeps under the stairs here at the studio. Anyway, so I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, all right. That is the last question of the day.
Perfect.
I know, right?
What a way to end it.
Ending on a great note. Thanks so much for joining us today, guys. And just a reminder, lots of great movies being shown in AMC theaters today. So head on over to www.amctheaters.com for all of your theaters, your showtimes, and your ticket information. And if you want a podcast version of this episode, check out the description box below for a link to our podcast. And make sure to click that subscribe button. Thanks to the guys in the room, Dennis and Jonathan, and Mark Ellis for his guest appearance. And thanks to you, John. John, where can people find you online?
You can find me online, not living in the AMC Movie News headquarters. You can follow me on Twitter or Facebook, just at John Campia.
And you guys can find me on Twitter and on Instagram at Ashley Mova. We will catch you tomorrow, and we will see you next time, guys. Bye.